Hello, this is Amnia. Joining me today is John Hinchliffe, who is the digital learning expert, currently serving as digital learning experience manager at Emirates NBD, a bank here in the UAE. Hi, John.
Hello there.
So today we're going to be talking about learning culture. And I want to start with the basics. How to cultivate a learning culture.
Okay. I mean, goodness, how to start with the biggest question, really. When we really think about learning culture, we have to think, why does it fail most of the time? And I think the biggest thing that is always in people's mind is learning is not important. And that goes back so much to people's experience with learning. It goes back to them having bad experiences in school and just not being interested in the biggest thing is not knowing what's in it for me. That's us as individuals, as humans. Everything is what's in it for me. And really with learning cultures, the things that people get wrong in L&D, and that's the unfortunate thing that we have to call out is we do get it wrong a lot of the time, is that we just try and force things on people, or we expect people to be excited about things as much as we are. So people aren't doing learning. They just think it's mandatory. Let's buy a massive catalog of courses and they'll want to learn. Well, now they're just overwhelmed. They don't know what really it's going to help them with. And so you've just spent all of your budget and it's not really working. So really for learning cultures, it's people understanding how can they actually get the things that they need? How is it going to help them? But also with learning cultures, how can we lower the barriers to entry? Because that's one of the biggest things that we really go up against is making it so difficult for people to consume and also get to that learning that's going to help them. As with everything, when we think about here in Dubai, would you rather in the summertime go on your app whilst you're in a nice air-conditioned room and get an Uber, or go outside and try and find a taxi? It's those barriers to entry. And that's really where learning culture has gone wrong for so long.
Right. How do we correct it? How can a business evaluate if they're promoting a learning culture to their employees or not?
I think the biggest thing is talking to your audience, and whether that's focus groups, whether that's feedback, whether that's through Survey Monkeys, but also look at your data. So look at your platforms. Even if you've got a really basic LMS, you're going to be able to pull data to see engagement, who's actually going through the content that isn't just mandatory. So really looking at what does the data say? What are your people saying? What are their frustrations? And really learn from that and then understand, well, how do we turn that around? So really when we think about, why are people not getting on board with stuff? Well, if let's say, for example, your only request come from the C-suite or from the really higher beings, do they really know what the people need rather than what they perceive they want? Rather than just saying, we need a leadership course. Okay. It's really for us as learning professionals asking questions. So the what, where, when, why, how, really understanding how is learning going to be the solution? And how do we really provide something that is going to meet the needs and actually provide a solution for that requirement? And I think we have such a focus on output rather than impact. And that's really where learning culture can really take change, is when we focus on providing the right solutions for the right need. And I think that's really where learning culture can change.
Right. That's a very long process. I mean, do you really think people have the time to sit and understand what's the problem, let's fix it, and so forth? I would assume it's easier to just say, hey, we need a leadership course.
Oh, yeah. And absolutely, for so many years, we do that. But it doesn't work. So is it that you don't take the time and you create something that has a very low percentage of working, or actually taking time to understand your audience, what's happening, and understand providing the right solution? Because if you keep on providing the wrong solution, your learners are not going to be interested because they know that what they're being provided doesn't hit the mark. So why would they keep on doing it? It's like if you went to a hotel and they got some providing you a bad experience. Would you keep on going to?
No, definitely not. All right. How do we provide them with the experience? There are companies that actually go the extra mile and build their own learning platforms. Are these effective, or is it easier to actually go and ask for external help?
I'm very much on the external help. I think if you are a very, very large organization with very bespoke needs, then you're in that realms of you need bespoke. But there are so many different offerings out there. I mean, whenever we go to conferences, there's so many different platforms that are offering so many amazing things that we haven't even thought about. And especially in the age of AI, it's where they've actually invested the time and the effort in providing the right solutions and actually making those a really great product. So actually looking at what is on the market. But when you're actually looking for those platforms, it's really being honest and true to what do you really need that platform to do. So asking internally within your L&D teams, asking your key stakeholders, so maybe it is your C-suite managers, understanding what are they expecting. Is it that they're expecting a particular type of reporting? Your IT team, understanding what are their requirements, pin tests, and just being able to make sure that it's fully secure. Because depending on your organization and your industry, you need to appease quite a lot of stakeholders. So for me, being able to actually go out to vendors with those sets of questions is going to really help an organization understand how can they really have a platform that's going to help them do what they want to do.
Right. How can they evaluate if these vendors are actually the right people for that, the right suppliers?
So I think it's a really solid question because there's so many vendors out there. Firstly is having your checklist and having your must-have, nice-to-haves. Those are absolutely critical because if they don't meet your must-haves, they're not going to be right. But then also in addition to this, actually getting conversations with other people who use that product, really unfiltered reviews from those individuals. Now, what it could be is that you've actually asked that organization, who uses your product? And can you put me in touch with somebody at that particular company? I've done it on a few occasions and actually found out from those people, the product is not great. The account manager thought they had a great relationship, but the fact was they hadn't spoken to them for 8 months. And there were so many problems. But because they'd sold to them, they thought they'd give us a glowing review. Stop conversations with that vendor straight away. So being able to have those honest conversations. The great thing is, we're living in a time where there's so much information. There is, G2 Crowd, where you can actually look and you can see reviews from different organizations around the world on different products. But also, we're in that time where, depending on the actual thing that you're buying, there might be YouTube reviews, there might be LinkedIn reviews. So people being really honest and actually talking about case studies where they've actually utilized it. So I think that's a really fantastic thing that we're in there about.
Mm-hmm. So why are companies not integrating learning as much as they should? Or are they? Maybe I'm assuming, are they?
No, you're spot on. It brings us back to that initial thing of learning is very hard, has been very hard for L&D teams to actually put return on investment on, to actually show value. It was kind of seems like nice to have. And because it doesn't actually show any real value, organizations just see it as just being put to the side. For instance, ByteDance, who own TikTok, they killed the whole L&D department. They stripped it out. And then they found out, oh, we actually do need an L&D department. But it's one of those things of because L&D has never really been seen as a great thing. It's never really been something that some people enjoy within an organization because it's seen as just mandatory training. It's that thing that I have to do. It really puts a bad taste in people's mouths. So for organizations, really it's us trying to show value. So through data, through things such as the ROI Institute of Canada's V model, so which kind of is a blend of action mapping by Kathy Moore, so really understanding the why are we doing something, and then Kirkpatrick, actually being able to compare those two. So actually understanding in the beginning, how are we going to show value at the end? What are we going to need in order to show that what we're actually putting forward is actually successful? So actually being able to go back to the business and say, look, because we took the time to understand what was the business requirements, what people are really needing, we're now seeing that this has affected the business in X metric. We can show this through reports and also seeing what other data we can actually implement. So if you had an organization whereby it was sales training, hopefully you can actually see metrics of how sales increased, correlation, causation, and trying to understand how do we be more data driven.
Right. What is the opportunity cost for not having an L&D department or not investing in that?
Well, for the vast majority, you have to have mandatory training. That's so if you don't have L&D, but the thing is, for a lot of organizations, because they haven't seen internal success,
Right.
they will outsource.
Why don't they see internal success? What is hampering the success?
I think it's that thing of people doing what they've always experienced. So doing bad learning.
Mhm.
So always focusing on 1 hour courses online, really bad ClickNet. Yeah, you know it.
I know.
Picture, text, really dry as a biscuit, snoring boring, just horrible, horrible experiences.
Right.
And because they've not focused on what do people need and just focused on output, what they do is they get a request, they build this horrible course that they think that is only going to be consumed on a laptop, and they put it on a learning management system and don't do anything. They don't promote it. They don't let people know that it's there. They don't let people know what's in it for them. And so it dies.
Mhm.
And so that keeps on happening again and again and again. And then your key stakeholders start asking questions. You built 6 courses this year. What's been the impact? I don't know.
Mm.
Okay, so in any other department, if you ask them, what have you been doing and what's been the return on investment? And they said, I don't know. That means that they potentially be on the chopping block.
Right.
And so what they can do then is they could say, right, I need L&D because I need to encourage people. It's seen as a value add to people. I need to encourage them. I need them to learn. Okay, well, I could buy a content library. Okay, so I could buy a Udemy, I could buy a Coursera, and people can learn. Because the issue is, learning for so long, it doesn't sound complex. It's just transferring knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a lot of organizations, they think, well, we can just do it in the simplest, cheapest form, and we've met our criteria. We can just have mandatory courses that are on a platform that ticks the box, and then everybody can get back to work. So there isn't really a focus on developing your people. There's just a focus on business as usual.
What about the people themselves? Shouldn't they be keen on learning?
They absolutely should be keen on learning, but you have other priorities.
Right.
You know, work gets really busy, you have family things going on. But it's that issue of when you really, really think about it, and if we really think about this in the biggest scale, you can get every question to every answer through Google.
Right.
Learn everything you could ever want.
Or ChatGPT.
Or ChatGPT.
Right.
So why do courses exist?
Right.
Because we need that motivation. We need that structure. We need that impetus to tell us, well, where is the end? Because we don't know what mastery really looks like.
Mm.
So when we really think about it, why are people not learning? They don't know what's in it for them. They're not encouraged. They've had so many barriers to entry. So they've had to sign into a learning management system. They forgot their password. They've got to reset their password. They then got to find a course. It's an hour long. Okay, I'm too busy. Are you really too busy? Because you'd quite easily take an hour-long meeting. It's perception.
I have a final question, and it's as it, I should reflect on it as well. And if learning is such an important part of like human progress and employee progress, why are we procrastinating and against it? Like, why are we not moving forward through learning?
It's a very beautiful question.
Okay.
When you think about it, our priorities change to our less. When we are young, the priority is learning because we are unknown to the world and we need to be prepared for the big bad world of work.
Yeah.
But once you're in work, then you're expected to work. And actually developing yourself takes a back seat. So when we really think about why are we not learning, why is there not kind of an emphasis on that? It's really that fact of work. Work, the doing, becomes the main factor. But it's for organizations really to understand that by helping their people develop and really encouraging it and really providing almost like a community whereby they're encouraged to develop themselves because they understand that by developing themselves, that will help them, their career, that helps the organization as well. Whereby, let's say, for example, they have internal gigs whereby people can move around,
Right.
their skills. Then you have a positive impact on the organization because then your turnover goes down because people become loyal and then they become lifers within your organization because you invest in them. The fact is, we need telling that learning is important to us. And we need to understand that from where we've being responsible.
So who's responsible to explain this to people? Is it the learning and development department?
It's the whole organization.
Right.
Because another thing is, a learning culture cannot exist if the culture is toxic.
Right.
That's the horrible truth.
Right. Yeah, that is right.
It goes throughout everything.
I mean, there is no way someone would learn and invest time into learning something new when they're thinking about, oh, my boss might be scheming against me or my colleagues or
might scheme against me if I think that my manager is going to tell me off because I took an hour to develop myself. Why weren't you working? Why weren't you making us money?
Yeah.
And it's also that thing is, you touched on it there. If you don't like the organization, you're not going to invest in the organization.
Right.
And so the only time that you're really going to learn maybe is if you desperately want to get out and you realize I need these skills. And so I'm learning on an evening, on a weekend, and then learning takes a different form. Then you've got a different type of motivation.
Right. Well, this was intense and useful. Thank you very much. And is there final words that you would like to say on this topic? It was intense.
It was intense. I think especially when we come to learning culture, the biggest thing is understand what your people need rather than what you think that they want. Make the barriers to entry so low. So have bite-sized learning that people can get access to via MS Teams, Yammer, Discord, Slack, whatever your tool choice is. But make it really easy for people to actually get on. Also, think that people are not just on their laptops. When you look at LinkedIn statistics, 80% of workers are not at a desk.
Okay.
So if you're designing for a desktop, but they're on their phone, it's a horrible experience. So think mobile first.
Yeah.
Think responsive, and there's wonderful tools out there. Also, think about curation rather than creation first. So curate from YouTube, from Harvard Business Review, from Bing, wherever you can actually gain access to. There is so much information out there. Why not utilize it? Create a playlist that's congruent. So when you think about that, if you were creating a playlist on Spotify, you wouldn't have Iron Maiden followed by Beethoven followed by Eminem. You might do it if you're a bit funky, but it's how do you create a playlist that is easy to consume, that actually makes sense, that actually gives them the answer to the question that they're looking for.
Right.
That's really culture. But at the end of the day, like we were saying, the organization needs to back that, because if they don't, it becomes really tricky.
Right. Thank you, John, and thank you for watching us. And looking forward for more later.